I picked up that Super Mario 3D All-Stars, got that in the mail on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't have a ton of experience with Mario games in general, but the 3D games are kind of a big gap in my play history. I do have a copy of Sunshine. I do have a copy of Galaxy. And I didn't have a copy of Mario 64 on the N64 until very, very recently. But Mario and I have always kind of had a bit of a misunderstanding between each other, I want to say.
Similar to Zelda, maybe?
Yeah, it's like I appreciate the games for what they are, but it just never really felt like they were for me. So a big part of my dislike for Mario 64, or a big part of my reasoning for not playing it, is the N64 controller is just hot garbage. And finally, when they announced the 3D All-Stars, and more specifically, when they announced it was going to be sold only until March, I was like, fuck it, I'm buying it. And I did, and it came in on Friday, and I've been playing it pretty casually. I've only done Mario 64 up to this point. I wanted to say that the controls are better on the Nintendo Switch, but I really don't feel like they are. And like, I've been kind of vocal about this on a couple spots, most notably in our Discord and a couple other Discords as well too. I get a lot of pushback for it because, it's a pretty historic game. Mario 64 is one of the first 3D platformers that was ever made. It's probably considered one of the greatest ones that have ever been made as well too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're looking at it from the lens of when it was released, that's 100% accurate. But in 2020, when we have certain expectations of these games, it's a real tough pill to swallow if you don't have nostalgia associated with it.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
The camera on that game is really difficult to get around.
Yes.
And I'm finding that to be, I can't say it's game breaking, but it is incredibly frustrating. Because it's very difficult to see where you're jumping a lot of times, and you can move the camera to some degree, but you don't have a ton of control over where it's going. And once you start moving, it kind of tends to float back wherever it wants to anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of all that, you have your actual controls for Mario himself, which I feel like for the most part, the platforming is good, but in tandem with the camera controls, it leaves a little bit of room to be desired for my taste. A lot of times I'll be jumping on something that I don't really have a good sense of where it is. So I find myself falling off of ledges quite frequently. Or if I like the idea of jumping on an enemy really isn't practical because I'll either overshoot them or undershoot them most of the time. So I do find myself trying to like either avoid them entirely or I'll go up and punch them from behind if possible. And then you have those stages where you have the flowers that eat you. I can't think of their names because I'm a bad video game podcast host. But it's, the flowers are asleep, and then you can sneak up to them and punch them, and they'll drop a blue coin. But the analog stick on this, I don't know if it's the Switch or if it was like this in the original. The analog stick is so sensitive. And it is incredibly tough to get a sense of how fast or how much I need to push the stick so I could just walk.
You know what?
I feel like... Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but I feel like this might be a valid point. You know what it is as you're describing this, I think it could be an issue with, and you're not going to want to hear this, but a lot of those games were engineered for that controller, and that analog stick is definitely taller and has, I think, more range than the Switch stick.
It does. And you're probably right, especially considering that from whatever everything that I've read, these games are essentially running on emulation.
Mm-hmm.
So, they modified some of the instructional text to reflect the different buttons that the controller has versus the original one. But outside of that, I'm pretty sure it's just emulated.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to imagine that a control issue like that wouldn't really be updated.
Probably not. Something probably got lost in the mix there.
Now, I know there's quite a few people that are listening to the show that are big fans of the game. So please let me know if we're on point with this or if I just suck. I'm sure. I have a feeling it's probably a little of both, mostly the second one. But I got a few coins. I got like 6 or 7 coins or stars or whatever the hell they are.
Stars, yeah.
And it's an interesting window into something that I missed when I was a child. And I'm not going to say that I'm not enjoying it, but I do find myself walking away frustrated from time to time just because I am so bad at the game.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, I want to say the golden years of Mario 64 was what, 96, 97?
That sounds about right. Yeah, I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, let's verify that.
Let's see here. Super Mario 64. Let's see. Your Japanese release was 96. 96 for North America as well.
Okay. Yeah, I remember sitting at a cafeteria table in middle school, with kids saying like how many stars you get. So, I mean, talk about ancient.
Yeah. And aren't there like 120 stars in the game that you could potentially get?
Something like that.
Like, that's just mind-blowing. And then we got, fucking son of a Finch over here. He's like, 5 hours later, I beat it. Like, yeah, okay, buddy. Like, he just drops in on Saturday morning. Yep, just beat Mario 64. Okay, you suck.
Yeah, you just got done, like, rage quitting the game like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, and then last night he has the audacity to tell us that he beat Sunshine as well, too. It's like,
God.
I haven't even started that yet.
Yeah, that's commitment and love right there.
But... I'm going to try to beat it. I think it's important for somebody who considers himself to be a bit of a retro game historian to finish that game. I need to beat Mario 64. I don't know if I have to get 120 stars yet. Maybe after I finish the game, I'll kind of take a look and see how difficult it is to get some of those. But
I got to have Jimmy watch that Departed clip so I can start calling him Jimmy Bags. Yeah, hey, it's Jimmy Bags.
Oh, God.
He's going to appreciate that. Love you, Jimmy.
Oh, man.